Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about temporary protected status because there's been a lot of excitement, a lot of updates recently, and a lot of TPS was redesignated, which means that it opened up a window for previously designated temporary protected status for individuals from certain countries to apply anew and who might not otherwise have been qualified because they hadn't been here in the country at the time. So we're going to focus particularly on Venezuelans, Afghans, Cameroonians, but there's a lot of other countries as well, and they keep seeming to be redesignated. So it's really great news. So this doesn't take the place of legal advice, but we're giving some general information. Just wanted to get this information out to you. I'm a board certified immigration attorney. The law firm's 14 years old. We're based in Houston, but we have global reach on all areas of immigration, U.S. immigration law. So we're going to talk about what is TPS eligibility benefits, just some about the application process and some resources and tips. So temporary protected status was created to be like a temporary haven, if you will, for individuals from countries that were having, in theory, temporary problems. It could be a political instability, economic instability, a government takeover. I mean, just on this slide alone, it's mostly political, but it also had been from like hurricanes and mudslides and earthquakes and things like to that nature. So in general, I don't know how many countries we've had TPS for. I think it's like 15 or 20, but there it's called temporary protected status, but in many cases, it hasn't been very frequently taken away. It's normally once it's opened, it just keeps being renewed every 18 months. So the bottom line, the application, there's pretty much two applications that you have to think about. One is the I-21, and the other one is the I-765 for work authorization. And the things to consider for that are that you would want to make sure that you evaluate your eligibility. Ideally, go to an experienced immigration attorney to review your eligibility and make sure before you put your application out there. And because there's a lot of things to consider, it's not like everyone's eligible, and also it could bring attention to yourself that you unwanted attention. So you want to make sure that you meet all the deadlines from when you needed to be in the country, when you need to submit it by, and so on and so forth. Now, this is something that people don't realize, what can disqualify you. And so that's why I wanted to bring this up. So if you've ever been convicted of a felony or two or more misdemeanors in the United States. So two or more misdemeanors, that, I mean, sometimes being in the wrong place at the wrong time, that can happen, and it can disqualify you and kick you out of the running. Also, if you were ever found inadmissible for a non-waivable criminal or security-related ground, if you're subject to any of the mandatory bars of asylum. Now, those are pretty bad, so hopefully you aren't, but you need to be aware of that. Participating in the persecution of another individual, engaging in inciting terrorist activity. If you fail to meet the continuous physical presence and continuous residence in the US, and so it's important to look at those. Or if you fail to meet the initial or late initial TPS registration. And if you are granted TPS, if you fail to re-register it without good cause. Now, one side note I will say is that we've had success with filing late TPS registration in the past. So that is a possibility, especially under this administration, we've had some success. So that is something to consider if you had missed it in the past. But anyway, these are things. The biggest ones we'll see is also if you have like another citizenship and you can't argue. So that's back to a bar to asylum. If you can't prove that you cannot return, go to that other country. So for example, if you're Venezuelan and Spanish, if you can't, it's going to be hard to prove you can't go back to Spain. So then you would very likely be denied your TPS. So that's something to consider, and a lot of people don't realize that. So what are the good benefits of having it? Well, lots of them. One of them is work authorization. Being able to have valid work authorization in the United States allows you to open up getting a social security number, allows you to get a better job, allows you to move up the ranks of life, and just having that mobility. In a lot of states, having a valid work authorization and status allows you to get a driver's license, like in Texas is one, and so that is an added benefit. Sometimes it can help bring families together. It can help open the door to getting the reentry permit, travel document, advance parole, to be able to travel, come back in on a legal entry, and then maybe if you have a U.S. citizen, 21 and up child that could petition for you or spouse, then those are ways that you could get legal permanent residency. So it can be a stepping stone. So if you already have asylum pending and you want to apply for TPS, that doesn't disqualify you from applying for TPS. And in fact, you should definitely have a consultation to evaluate that as an option. We've had clients have asylum pending, apply for TPS, get the TPS approved, and then later got the asylum approved. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get the asylum approved, but you do need to know the consequences and just the interplay of all the different actions. So it can open up access to other relief programs and potentially, maybe to a path to citizenship, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's an automatic path. Like it can be a stepping stone if you can find a way to legal permanent residency. So there's a lot of registration periods. We're not going to try to have all the answers for every country, but the big ones that we were announcing recently were from Afghanistan, designation, Venezuela, huge Venezuela. There's about 500,000 people who can benefit from that. And Cameroon, I believe it's about 2,000. There's other there's re-registration periods and things like that, but we wanted to just bring up these redesignation for Afghan, Venezuela, and Cameroon. So take a look at those. There's a lot of information on uscis.gov website and on our website, our social media. We want to make sure that people know about it, but definitely don't apply too late. There's going to be lots of people applying, lots of people of excitement. You can apply online. We at our Powers Law Group, we file online as much as we possibly can. And, just it's better to have this as an option than if you miss the deadline or you get detained or something happens and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have applied for this. So definitely take this seriously. We have other links that we can put in our post, but for the most part, you'll be paying for the TPS. And if you want to apply for work authorization, there's a separate fee for that as well. So you can find us on lots of different places. We are on TikTok. We regularly post videos, information. We're on Instagram and we have Reels as well. And we're on Twitter, X, and Facebook. And we have a newsletter in Spanish, French, Spanish, English, and sometimes Turkish, usually every other week. And so if you want to get added to that, just check out this QR code and get yourself signed up. So again, my name is Ruby Powers with Powers Law Group, and you can reach us at 713-589-2085. And we do speak Spanish, Ukrainian, Russian, Turkish, and sometimes a little bit of French as well. But if not one of those languages, we can also find someone to help translate and help communicate. So thanks for watching. We have more coming up in this month of October. We've diversity lottery, TPS, prosecutorial discretion, and green cards for employment-based immigrants. And we have more to come in November. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.